Well, it's a sweep in St. Pete's, baby. Phillies sweep the best team in baseball, and it's this is the roller coaster ride of Phillies of Major League Baseball, baseball in general, the up and down, the roller coaster of emotions, whatever you want to call it. Just last weekend, they got swept by, or not swept. They lost the series to the Nationals, one of the worst teams in baseball, one of our division rivals. We're all ready to burn the house down. And then boom, let's turn it around and just win here against a sweep in St. Pete against the best team in Major League Baseball. And I brought Matty B on with me for a reason and one reason alone, to bring me down a little bit, because right now I'm super excited. Matty he will always he'll keep me even keeled most of the time. But I want to jump into it because we got a lot to talk about. I want to thank our sponsors. We're getting our sponsors, David R. Cherry, thecherryinjurylaw.com, phillysportstrips.com, as well as sherrystickets.com. Steve's already coming out swinging. He's asking, Tampa Bay slump, Phillies confident, or a bit of both? Matty, I'll let you start it off.
Oh, listen, hey, Al, it's good to be on with you. We haven't done a
I know
final in a
I
minute
really
today.
wish we could start doing these more often like this, but we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, no, it's I was watching the game while doing my show. Just
Mhm.
ended a few minutes ago with Bill
Great
Matz,
show,
and
both Bill Matz. Yes, I had that going on with the Phillies, so
want to
amazing.
want to thank Bill for spending way over the time that he told me he was going to spend with me. So that was great. We talked primarily Flyers, but I was watching the game, and of course the overall arcing series. When you're the only team that's been able to go to Tampa and sweep them all season, there's probably something to that. And they did it really with the recipe of great pitching. I mean, that's kind of how it really went down. Their offense is still what it is, but their pitching, that fifth starter question tonight specifically might have been answered by Christopher Sanchez. What's his third really, really strong start after coming back from
Well,
injury?
since they decided to make him the quote unquote fifth starter, which I think his second game was in Oakland, right? That was the second
Yeah,
time they made him the fifth starter. So
yeah.
since the first time they made that, he's pitching a 2.14 ERA. Um and one run over 7 innings. What more could you ask for? Or 6 innings, 6 full innings. What more could you ask for from a fifth starter? I think Crucky said it best. You'll take that every day and twice on Sundays.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And then when you look at the first game of this series with the strikeouts, with was it 14 strikeouts from Nola, and then Ty Walker, after having kind of a shaky start to yesterday's game, just kind of locked it down. There's no secret
Mhm.
to where the success lies here. It's the pitching has rounded into form, and that's what we've been waiting for all season. So I think a little bit of both. Offense is still not where it needs to be. 3 for 13 with runners in scoring position tonight is not a positive number. They left way too many ducks on the pond. But Derek Hall hitting a home run was great to see. But pitching, it wins championships, Al.
Well, here's the thing: is, and it's the typical Phillies. It's just very typical where you are looking in the beginning of the season. You're looking bats, 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 bats. Here comes Trey Turner, more bats. Nick Castellanos, bats. And the pitching is what's doing good for us.
Yeah.
It's what it is. Steve has another comment. He's saying he would still bring Painter into the mix. There's nothing wrong with the 6 star, especially seeing how Nolan Wheeler kind of ran out of gas because you had to go in via the wild card last year. If Painter is feeling healthy, do you bring him in at the 6 starter? Is that a good way of letting him get a feel of Major League Baseball, or do you just the broth tastes good, keep it going until there's any reason not to do so?
So what is Al? Help me out. The
Okay.
Andrew Painter hype. Where the hell is it coming from? The guy's never pitched above Double A. He's never. He hasn't pitched at all this season, with the exception of the injury. The game he got hurt in spring training. He still hasn't pitched.
Mhm.
They're getting ready to give him a live bullpen session, but they had to postpone it because he was feeling tight. What has Andrew Painter done to deserve this hype? I would trade Andrew Painter right now. Honestly, I
Well,
would
it
trade
depends on what
him.
you're going to get, I would
Yeah, I
say. I mean,
need some offense.
he is the 10th best prospect in the minor leagues right now. So there's that hype. All the hype going around worrying about the pitching coming into the year is the hype, and he's supposed to be the next big thing. So it's like anything. It's like, you get this new toy, you want to play with it. I
Yeah,
guess
but
you want to see what he's got.
he's got
They are
elbow.
really touting him up to be, he could be more than a 6 starter. come next year or two, he could be your number 1, number 2, number 3, depending how good he is.
Al, he's got elbow issues at 19. All right.
Agreed.
Those are
Listen. I'm not like I see as Andrew Painter. Like I see him off to the side. Like there's Andrew Painter. That's cool. If he's ready and he's healthy and we can bring him up and be that 6th starter, let the guys get a little more breathing room in between. I'm okay with it. But at the same time, I'm not worrying about it either.
Yeah. No, I agree. And then the Kyle Drabeck hype. Remember that years ago when we couldn't, you can't be touched. He's a great prospect. I think it's all Cole Hamels PTSD. I guess everyone's having right now. But Andrew Painter is there. He's dealing with, I think, a little bit more than a strain in his elbow. I think it's something a little bit more than that.
I would hope if he needed surgery, they would have just started that process now.
I wish they would have too. But I think Andrew Painter will not see, and he shouldn't. He should not see any Major League Baseball time this year. Let him work this thing out. Start fresh next year. There's no rush on him at all.
No, but if he was healthy, I wouldn't be against what he's saying here. That's the best way of letting a guy like Andrew Painter get his toes wet into the pool known as the Major League Baseball, so he isn't relying on being on that 4th or 5th starter, because that's where they had him. They were relying on him being number 5 where Sanchez is, and Sanchez has definitely stepped up. Walter, I don't know if he's using emojis, but I'm guessing he's excited. Ellis is jumping in. Yes, sweep it. Yes, a sweep. I love it. Who doesn't, Ellis? I mean, it's I always say this, and it sounds cliche, but when Phillies baseball is good, it's damn good. Damn good.
Yeah.
Tip your hat to the Nats. They're improving and made the right pitches at the right time. They played above their heads. I mean, listen, that's baseball. It's hard to sweep any team. That's why a sweep is really good to be excited about. They've had a couple sweeps now, even good teams or bad teams. That's hard to do. I have a feeling, I think the Nationals played above their pay grade, and the Phillies kind of skated through that and thought that the hits would come, and they were wrong. Steve, thank you for joining us. I want to thank everybody. But for those who are just joining us, the Phillies have won a sweep in St. Pete's, as I'm calling it, or the sweep of the best record in baseball in this Tampa Bay Rays in the worst stadium in Major League Baseball. It is gloomier than the Vet was. Gloomier than the Vet ever was. I don't want to hear anybody say anything about the Vet.
It's positively dome-like. It really is.
It's a shame. Like, it really is disgusting. But the Phillies won 3-1 in extra innings. Were you getting a little nervous with the way things were going? That it kind of had that smell of that Braves game. Nobody could really score. Then you go in the extra innings, and it just, you're afraid they weren't going to come up. But came up big from 2 guys that people criticize a lot. One, Kyle Schwarber gave that go-ahead run, and Trey Turner add on that extra run that you always need in extra innings. Are we being too hard on those guys, or is this just, you're not seeing enough for them not to be hard on them?
Why? Who do you want me to start with first?
Start with Kyle Schwarber. And again, go ahead.
All right. So the biggest thing on Schwarber, and I understand what he is. I'm not ignorant to that. I get that. But why he can't bat anywhere other than leadoff it's almost a matter of principle that I move him down the lineup. I just don't get that, Al. Is that the athlete of today? I don't get why he can't bat anywhere but leadoff. I understand he's home run or bust, and I've learned to live with that, but not at the leadoff position. And I still think it's a travesty. But it's great that he came up, with small ball tonight, and he was able to do that way.
Well, that was kind of my next part of my question is, do you think they've talked to him, or he's come to the conclusion that small ball is where it needs to be? Because it doesn't seem like because every time he comes up, he looks like he is just wailing away at it, just wailing away at the ball. The last couple games, even though he was 0 for 6 yesterday, he doesn't seem to be doing that.
No, he doesn't. I don't know. I really don't. I don't know what the psyche of teaching Kyle Schwarber how to hit is. I don't want to know. I think that'd be a Pandora's box that I don't want to open. But again, it really kind of, maybe there's a lot to the fact that they won't bat him anywhere but lead off. I don't understand that. It's good to see him get the runs. It's good to see him attempt to use all fields and not try to crush the ball and accept the single and know the role there. That maybe that's all we needed at that point was a single. It doesn't need to be a home run every time. Sometimes we need a single or contact. You got to put the ball in the air somewhere. You know, maybe there is something to that. I don't know, but I can't get it. 189 he's batting and he's leading off. I can't wrap my head around it. I can't get past that.
Well, you hear people say, "Well, that's modern baseball." Is that? I mean, listen, I always said Ryan Howard. He was batted like barely a 230, but he would put up 50 home runs, or 40 home runs.
Or fifth. He was never that.
I
That's
know.
equivalent to batting
I
Ryan
think,
Howard leadoff.
and is the fact that his being in leadoff make his ERA just that worse because he is having that extra hit that everybody else isn't getting?
Well, I remember last year, Al, when we would come on together, you were a big time proponent of batting leadoff only really means something one time, and that's leading off. And I said, no. I disagree. It's multiple faceted when especially with a player like Kyle Schwarber, because you're taking away those home runs deeper in the lineup with more ducks on the pond there as well. But I don't know. I really don't. I don't know. I can't get past it, man. It's like a block. I can't get past it.
Well, one thing you can go on to, and it's really easy. There's never going to block you. Go to sherrystickets.com because you're going to need those tickets, man. Even though baseball hasn't been great in Philly up until the last month or so, this stadium is like one of the third most average amount of fans at. So it's hard to get these tickets. It's hard to get the good tickets. But I go to sherrystickets.com. You're going to get the best price to begin with. You're not going to get the hidden fees. And you're going to get additional 10% off using that promo code EOP10. So go to sherrystickets.com, use that promo code, and you're like, I don't care about baseball. Well, guess what? My wife loves concerts or theater, or I want to go to that. Then you could still use it. You buy tickets, you go to sherrystickets.com and use that promo code EOP10. Get out there. We always talk about batters. We always talk about Kyle Schwarber. We always talk about all those guys. Let's talk about the pitching for a second. I just told you Christopher Sanchez, since they kind of made him that honorary fifth starter or whatever you want to call him, he is batting at 214. And he's going out there and just doing trying to keep up and doing his best impression of Ranger Suarez or Taijuan Walker. Is it legit, or do you just ride this wave until the wave crashes? Like, what do you think?
That's a great question, especially on July 6th, because the wave, you got the trade deadline approaching. Is this, have we seen enough, or has Dave Dombrowski seen enough to say, you know what, I'm going to stand pat on getting any pitching help here at the trade deadline and maybe focus on potentially some offensive help? Or do I not feel comfortable yet? And, we got to give, is it too small of a sample size to say, you got the fifth starter? I don't know. That's a great question. And he's only going to get maybe 2 more starts before the deadline. So that's a great question, Al. But it's a great question to have. It's a great question to ask based on where we were about a month ago, and with the Bailey Falter nonsense and the Dylan Covey stuff.
Well, okay. So as long as he gives you a Bailey Falter type regular season, because you don't worry about a Christopher Sanchez in the postseason.
No, he's coming out of the bullpen.
He's coming out of the bullpen at that point. So I don't think you worry about it unless he just falls apart in his next 2 starts and he just looks like, it was a wave to ride that no longer is riding, and you move on. But is the fifth starter overrated?
No,
at this point.
No, I disagree. Because it's that bullpen.
Well,
game.
let me ask you a question this way: is the fifth starter not worth what people go out and pay for it in the deadline?
No, it's weird. It's a conundrum. It's a modern baseball conundrum because the bullpen game thing and the reliance upon bullpen games on all teams through Major League Baseball is frustrating for me. It gasses your bullpen. It throws all the rhythm off. You got to have 5 competent guys to get you through a 162 game season. Bottom line, and we've been talking a lot lately about last year's rotation, the Kyle Gibsons of the world and Noah Syndergaards of the world. Were these guys going to win the World Series? No, but they would take the ball every 5th day, especially Kyle Gibson in the first half, and give you about 6 innings. That's all you're looking for, man. That's really not too much to ask for from a fifth starter. Is give me 5 or 6 innings, keep me in the damn game, and that's all I want. I don't want you to go out and win a Cy Young award. I don't want you to no-hit them. I just need you. I need 5 or 6 innings from you every 5th day. And maybe they cast that aside because it's so minuscule, but I think in the big picture, it is really big because what was one of the problems with the Phillies at the end of the year? We ran out of gas. Their pitchers were done. I mean, they were all done. Nola was done. Wheeler was done. And I'm not saying that a better rotation, and I'm not saying that affected those guys, but I just think holistically and routinely, because baseball's a game of routine, having that fifth starter, the guy you can rely on every fifth day to hand over the ball, a la Jamie Moyer or Joe Blanton, is huge. And no matter what era of baseball you're in.
All right, well, let's go down the line. Another guy who struggled mightily coming into the season, went down, came back up, and has been much more solid than any of us expected. Junior Marte.
Yeah.
Again, just I don't think it's a wave with him anymore. I think he's going to have a clunker here and there where he's not going to always be 100%, but I'll take a 90% of the time guy any day of the week, especially in a guy like Junior Marte.
Yeah, what was his ERA? 27 at one point. Now it's down to 5.9.
It was 28 on the nose before they set him down. He was a 20 after 2 starts. Or once, it might even been 1 start now. I think of it. I'm not sure, but he was a 28.
No, you mean 1 appearance, not start. He's a reliever, so it was
1 appearance or 2 appearances, I should say.
But
yeah,
no, you're right. Night and day. And I wasn't feeling comfortable either with him or Hoffman or Velasquez. None of those guys that we brought in here late in the season or late in the preseason or spring training. I wasn't feeling comfortable with the makeup of the bullpen at all in April and May. And you're right. They've, especially Marte, found his groove down there in the valley. So yeah, you keep in that 5th, 6th inning role, that middle reliever guy. Keep going, man. Keep going till the wave
may have to go 2 innings,
Exactly.
And that's the thing. Like Matt Strahm, there's another guy. He pitched well for us. Gave us always usually about 4 solid innings.
Starting for a while.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, do you think about, say, Christopher Sanchez is our 5th guy for the rest of the year and just does very well for that? Do you think about doing a bullpen game every so often just to stretch it out if there's like a lot of like 7 games in a row or 8 games in a row and you just want to kind of stretch it out a little pending the matchups? Do you think about throwing a bullpen game in there a little bit just to stretch it out?
If we hadn't had the turmoil that we've had in the first half when it came to our rotation and the overuse of our bullpen, I would probably say yes. But right now, I think it's about trying to, and I'm not going to use the word preserve or conserve, but we got to really, I mean, what was the big thing? They're going to a bullpen game every 5th day in June, and the bullpen's going to be gassed by August and all that. I think we've kind of entered that phase where we got to kind of try to save the bullpen as much as we can, and getting competent, long starts, 6 innings or plus or more, is really what we got to do, and we got to keep rolling that. So yeah, I would say that if we hadn't had the turmoil that we had in the beginning part of the season, absolutely. But right now, if it ain't fixed, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So that's a good problem to have.
Guys, real quick, like I said, it's baseball. Phillies baseball's going to get better. It's going to get more competitive, as we've seen. You saw a lot of fans down in Tampa. I would say it definitely outweighed the amount of Rays fans there, which I'm sure there's only 7 to begin with. But still, Phillies fans travel well. But the best way to travel as a Phillies fan is at PhillySportsTrips.com. They have their upcoming one in Pittsburgh at the end of this month, July 28th to the 31st. I believe there's still some spots open. You can pick your way you want to go. If you just need the tickets and you want to go hang out with the crew, there's that. You can get your flights, you can get your trips, you can get your hotels through them. You can get it all. It is an experience at PhillySportsTrips.com. They have one coming up in San Diego in September, as well as all the away trips for the Eagles and so much more. Go to PhillySportsTrips.com. Sign up now. Tell them EOP sent you. Let's get to it. Let's see. Griff has been on a roll lately. That may not be a bad extra dude to bring up. Yeah, I mean,
but he's in Double-A. He hasn't even pitched yet. Again, let these guys mature a little bit,
Well, I mean, it's funny with the Phillies. It's like all or nothing. Like they'll let them mature till like they're 28, and then bring them up. Or I'm okay with if we were like, say, the Braves, we had a nice commanding lead in our division, and you want to bring a guy up and give him a little, that's different.
Yeah.
Right now we're playing we need to get in that second place, and that's where this upcoming series right before the break.
Huge.
Let me ask you this question: if they somehow keep this road thing going and they sweep the Marlins, is it just? Are you upset now that there's going to be a break for a few days because you just want
Absolutely.
to ride that wave?
And it's a Philly thing to do too. We
Mm.
go to a 4-day break after, just really kind of catching fire and doing and handling our business up to the All-Star break. Absolutely, it sucks to have
All
the
right,
All-Star break happen like that.
I want to go down the line real quick here with the other ones. Alvarado, has he? I mean, he hasn't been 100% with Alvarado we saw this year since he came back from injuries. Command is he seems to be a little shaky. Once he settles down, he's good. Like he's still Alvarado. He's still playing very well. He's not
Yeah.
costing games or anything. He's just not as sharp as he's been. Are we worried or just I'll deal with it?
Well, a 30 pitch inning is not very reassuring. You're right.
Yeah,
He was everywhere. He's Alvarado. It's interesting because I don't think any of us expected this year with obviously with Kimbrel pushing Alvarado now. I mean, he's pushing for that position, and with Sir Anthony's injury, we lose another critical arm in the back end. I don't know. I think Alvarado's Alvarado. It was interesting in the role they used him here tonight, and I get it was 1-1 late. They were kind of just trying to preserve that, but yeah, 30 pitch inning was not very very reassuring for me today from him. But he's Alvarado, as you mentioned. He's a lot better than he was. He's a lot better version of the Alvarado now than he was 2 years ago. I'll take
sure.
this version over anything. But yeah, that's a great question now, and I don't know, but 30 pitch inning was not good tonight.
And last but not least, a guy who I owe a fruit basket is Craig Kimbrell, because I asked the question earlier in the year to you, to Joe, to Freddie, and a couple other guys here at Edge of Philly Sports: is Craig Kimbrell cooked? And obviously, he is just cooking. He
Yeah,
isn't cooked. He
yeah.
he is just he doesn't care about getting his violations. He's going to do what he wants. It's not hindering him. He's borderline unhittable when he comes out there at times, and he's been that way for a long time. Like he's been this since mid-May. Like it's not like, oh, he got hot in June too. No, he's been solid. I
It was
mean,
since that Dodger game. It was when he gave up that grand slam. It was pretty much since then.
he found himself.
Yeah, it was that Dodger game.
Do you think the 400 save off his back just made his life easier? He's not trying to worry about hitting that too. Is that playing it or just nah?
It could be that, but it could also be with the kind of bullpen that he's in. He's in there with 3 other guys or 2 other guys that are back end of the bullpen type guys. When Sir Anthony was healthy, he knew he wasn't the only option. Maybe that
Mhm.
takes some of the pressure off. I don't know. It could be the chemistry of where he's at.
And Matt Strom, who closed it out 2 innings into extras, I just love watching him pitch. He looks like he's ready to rip somebody's head off every time. He looks like he doesn't look like he's throwing a ball to strike you out. He looks like he's trying to fight you. I mean, I love Matt Strom. I don't know about you, but I just love Matt Strom.
Good pickup.
He fits that mold, and kind of a guy who played again today. Doesn't get a lot of play time, but I love watching him play because I feel like the same way about him is Stubbs. He doesn't play much, but when he plays, he's so intense. And you saw him take the hit today, hit off his bicep forearm region, and kind of bounced on his chest. Didn't let it bother him, just moved forward, and that kind of started the ball rolling to get the Phillies in the lead, and of course, ultimately take it. So, um, I I am surprised how much Stubbs is not like you figure when you have the best catcher in baseball in JT Realmuto, um, the next guy is going to be a much bigger drop off, but he really isn't. I mean, is that just him understanding his role and doing his role to his best, or do you think it's like from working behind a guy like JT?
Could be combination. He was a pretty good player when he was in the Atlanta Braves system. He was one of their top prospects. But unfortunately, when you get behind some permanent catchers, it doesn't work for you. But it's worked for him here. It's hard to come off the bench and be just like seamless. It's damn near
Him and
impossible.
Harrison have done well with it this year.
Yeah, and they have, and it's really hard. It might be one of the hardest things to do in all of sports. You talk about the backup quarterback coming in during a football game. They got nothing on a pinch hitter or a spot starter guy in baseball who's got to be ready to go, boom, and then there's no let me warm up. No, you got to go right into it, and that's a pleasant surprise. Yeah, I don't know if Subs is your future. He's not a future starting catcher, but he's definitely a guy to come off the bench and give you that extra spark defensively. Offensively is what he is, but there could be a lot worse situations the Phillies are in right now than having Garrett Subs as their backup. He's a very good backup.
All right, well, let's do this real quick because I want to kind of run down everything with you here. But before we do that, I remind you that this Phightins file is brought to you by David R. Cherry. Let Dave fight for your rights. You get hurt at work, you get hurt in a motor vehicle accident, you get hurt in personal injury or criminal law. Let Dave fight for your rights at 610-565-0300 or go to cherryinjurylaw.com and tell Dave that EOP sent you, and don't let anybody get you. This is how you need legal representation.
Right.
Dave Cherry is the man.
Right.
So let's go through this lineup real quick. I'm going to run down. So you had Kyle Schwarber, who was 2 for 5 with an RBI and 1 strikeout, sporting a whopping 189. Popped up a point there. There you go. You had Trey Turner, who was 2 for 5 as well with an RBI, 2 strikeouts. Again, I guess the hitting is at least timely. That's the difference here. They might not be hitting a lot, but at least when they're hitting, it's more timely. Castellanos, not a great day for him, but it was nice to see the guys back him up. He was 0 for 5. Bryce Harper also 0 for 5. We're going to talk about him in a moment. Alec Bohm was 0 for 4 with 2 strikeouts. Stott was 0 for 4. Derek Hall had a huge blast, which put the Phillies up in the beginning 1-0. And Brandon Marsh was 0 for 4 with a strikeout. And like I said, Garrett Stubbs was 1 for 3 with a run. And Sosa and Pache were pinch runners and played in the defense. So they didn't actually bat. But is this All-Star break good timing for guys like Bryce Harper? And even Castellanos maybe needs a little break.
Man, you're gonna make me get into this Bryce Harper thing, are you?
Like poking the bear.
Yeah, I think Bryce Harper needs to be sent down. I truly believe he needs to go to the minors. He needs to get his head screwed on. He's in his head. He's everywhere. Like, I got his car stolen, for God's sakes. I mean, everything is not working out in Bryce Harper's life right now. He needs to go somewhere where he can work out his kinks. I'm sorry. I don't want him in the lineup anymore. He's not Bryce Harper. But I maintain that we ain't doing anything without Bryce Harper. But right now, this version is not the Bryce Harper we need. He is so lost offensively. It's not even funny. I hate to be that guy.
I love how he's batting at 293 and we're sitting here talking. Like,
but he's batting 290. Yeah, he is. But what is Bryce Harper here to do? I mean, if
and he's an OPS of 788, so I mean,
so is Bryce Harper is this the Bryce Harper, the version of Bryce Harper that you feel comfortable with right now?
Oh, well, no, I don't think this is a version of Bryce Harper that Bryce Harper feels comfortable with, and Bryce Harper knows that. But with that being said, I don't think he needs to go to the minors. I don't think that helps Bryce Harper. He's not your typical baseball player. Okay, he goes down there and he wallops some young guy comes up. What's that mean? Now, that to me, that doesn't help me.
No, I disagree, because Bryce Harper he is an elite baseball player who's been rightfully given things because of his talents all throughout his life. He's now facing, maybe for the first time, real adversity, and I don't think he knows how to deal with it. I really don't. And you still see him up there. You mentioned Kyle Schwarber and the wailing. That's all you see him doing. That's all Harper's doing. He's wailing away.
Absolutely.
Wailing away. And God forbid he gets hurt doing that. So he needs a pause. The All-Star break couldn't come faster for Bryce Harper. Definitely needs a break, but I would not be heartbroken if he began the second half DHing down there in Allentown where he should be, in my opinion.
Well, you bring up the DHing factor. Well, do you think that this rumor that he's going to be playing first base come after the All-Star break, do you think that would be helpful for him to get his mind right, in the sense that he has too much time to be in his mind than when he's on the bench, than going out there playing the field and letting his play speak for himself?
So we're going to add the responsibility of trying to play first base to already his mental
I'm asking you.
potential issues. No, I don't think it's good at all. I think Derek Hall coming back is great. I think Derek Hall was the replacement I was on board with when Reese got hurt. Unfortunately, he got hurt. I think give Derek Hall the opportunity. Again, why are we rushing Bryce Harper into a situation where I don't know if he can handle? Honestly, I honestly don't know if he can handle it. He can't handle himself at the plate. Now I'm going to throw the responsibility of having him play first base. No, I think it's a mistake. Bryce Harper needs to be sent to the
I
minor.
think Bryce Harper's the kind of guy you got to let him kind of work those things out. And listen, the complaint is, did Bryce Harper come up too fast? Was Bryce Harper, should he went down to the minors first
We
and
all
then
agree
came
that it was
back up?
too fast, right? You agree to that, correct?
I agree to the fact that it probably was it was not medically too fast, but maybe too fast for him, that, he was just becoming impatient. But, it was Bryce Harper made the call. Just like Bryce Harper got Trey Turner here. You know what I mean? He's not any typical player. If they feel like he's not right, if this was anybody else, JT, listen, just go take a break, go down the minors, get a couple games in under your belt, come back up and play. Okay,
Right.
coach. Okay, Skip. But it's
So do you
Bryce
think
Harper.
do you think the decision to play first base was Bryce Harper's as well?
I think it was Bryce. It was kind of an idea that was brought to Bryce Harper, thinking that it might be a way of allowing him to not clog up the DH spot, because we said that this DH spot has been clogged up by him for the whole time it's been in the National League, except for 2 months,
Yeah.
3 months
Yeah.
tops. So it's becoming a problem because you get things like Kyle Schwarber making mistakes out in left field, and you get you give guys like him or Nicky Batts a break. I think it'd be more for Kyle Schwarber in the long run. I mean, this is one of those things. Find out and see. But I can't say it was a bad idea. I think it's a different idea. I just don't. I don't know if I would do this with anybody else you're talking about, anybody else on this team. But Bryce Harper is a different beast. I get what you're saying. He's always been treated differently his whole life and his whole career. But there's a reason for that.
Right. And then
And
right
just putting
now,
Bryce Harper can have one arm, but putting him up at the plate puts the fear of God into these pitchers. Maybe where he's batting at 4, I don't agree with. I actually talked about putting him in leadoff. I know it's crazy, but
why not?
I mean, if the guy can't hit for power but can hit singles and doubles,
There you
he
go.
gets on base, then so be it.
But we can't do that because we have another head case leading off who can't bat anywhere else but there. So
we need a couch and a shrink in the locker room. I don't know.
Man,
But
there's the deeper problems there than baseball. But no, but listen, I don't want it to come out that I'm putting Bryce Harper in the spectrum of my disdain for Howie Roseman. I'm not. That is not what I'm trying to say. Bryce Harper is a great. He's a great player. He's an elite player. But right now, Bryce Harper is not Bryce Harper. That's my point. We're not going anywhere without the Bryce Harper from last year or the one from 2019. Or we're not going anywhere without those guys, or 2021 or whatever. We need him to be where he needs to be. And you're right. The ramifications of him clogging up. You mentioned use the word clogging the DH. I mean, he's putting a strain on Kyle Schwarber too. I mean, he's playing way too much defense. Kyle Schwarber is not supposed to be out left field
or trying to.
Good God. And you know what? With all the defense he's been playing, he's done pretty well. I can't really criticize his defense because he never should have been playing that much. But it has long ramifications other than just Bryce Harper. So, first base options, I would go to JT and I would go to Alec Bohm before I would go to Bryce Harper. I think there's more options on this team, and Derek Hall, I think, is going to provide a nice, a consistency there. But we talked about this last year. As we get deeper into the season, these games become more and more important. Is this moment, because last year Derek Hall shrunk in those moments. He really, I think, let the moment get to him a couple of times. Is he going to rise above that this year because he's such a young player? I'm not really sure there, but there's better options than Bryce Harper, I feel, for first base for this team.
All right, guys, remember, this is your lineup here at EOP this week. Happy 4th of July. I know it's a little belated from us here at EOP, so hopefully you guys had a nice holiday weekend. Maybe some people are still down the shore. Maybe some people are on the beach throwing us up on their smartphones. That would be awesome. Or you're had a nice little time off from work and you get to enjoy. But we were not off. EOP has not been off. Look at this lineup. This is just a smattering of what we've done so far, and there's more to come as well. Tomorrow, tonight was a special night for the Phightins final, or for the Talking Philly Sports with Matty B, because of the 4th of July holiday. The attacking third was on earlier, of course, the post game with us, and the Sixers Thunder post game will be coming later because they are playing out in Oklahoma, I believe. So it's going to be, or not Oklahoma, but they're out. So their game is like at 9 o'clock. So yeah, she'll be having that after us. Friday got Birds at a Round Table, Steel Steps, and another Phightins final. Saturday, the Palace and Fanatics in the morning with a breakfast with the boys at Talking Philly Sports. Grab a cup of coffee and chat with the guys. Phightins final again, and Sunday PM in the AM, all across all the time, and of course another Phightins final. So that's just a taste of things to come, plus so much more here at EOP. And guys, go to Dolan's Bar over the weekend. If you need something to do, you need to cool off. This is hot and muggy out there. Go get yourself a nice frosty cold one. One of the great drinks. I have a graphic coming out with some of the new drink specials they have over at Dolan's Bar. Go to dolansbar.com. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. They have it all up there as well. 24 East Sellers Avenue, Ridley Park. Quizzo music, great food, memorabilia giveaways. You never know who's going to walk through the door. Tell PJ that we all said hi, that EOP sent you. One of the greatest guys you'll ever get a chance to meet, PJ Dolan, the mayor of Delco, as I call him. So let's real quick. I know it's getting to that time. We're going to stare at the standings a little bit because we're trying to inch our way up. So if Major League Baseball was to end today and they were going to postseason, the Phillies would be in that third wild card spot again. So let's look at the wild card right now. We are there's the San Fran is a half a game behind us. I kept saying like that losing that series at one of those games, the Nationals, is going to burn us a little bit, but whatever. It is what it is. We are in the third wild card spot. We are one game behind one game behind the Dodgers and 2.5 games behind Miami, which makes this series coming up all that more important. If we could sweep them, that means we could come out of this higher up in second place and higher up in that wild card standings, because the wild card is a little tight until with Milwaukee and San Diego is creeping up at 6.5 games out. Chicago at 7. New York Mets are at 7. They're still the Mets right now, but they're on a 4-game winning streak. The New York Mets, really turning things around there in New York. They're not messing it up so much. We'll see how that works out. And then Pittsburgh 7 games behind as well, which makes that series more interesting as we get down the line. It's a lot of sledding to go up there and try to catch Atlanta in the standings. We are 11 games out of first place as of tonight. So we need Atlanta to take I mean, look, we're 8-2. What? Of course, Atlanta's 9-1 in their last 10. Like that's just the way it always seems to be.
Yeah, it's messed up.
It is what it is. The Marlins are 6-4 right now in their last 10. So hopefully we're catching them at a good time too. To go into Miami. Hopefully Phillies fans are traveling well. If they're not, go to phillysportstrip.com. And they're going to put a lot of pressure on Miami from within the stadium there at Lone Depot Park. So that is your standing. So like I said, we are in third place at 47-39, 11 games out of first, and 2.5 games behind the Marlins for second place in the NL East. Let's go into around the league right now. Games that are currently going on includes the White Sox up 4-3 on Toronto in the top of the 6th in Chicago. Cleveland's up 4-1 over KC in the bottom of the 6th in Cleveland. Seattle is up 5-1 on Houston at the top of the 9th, and they are in Houston. New York is up 7-0 on Arizona. Man, Arizona is starting to really kind of have some issues there. 7-0 in Arizona against the Mets, and they're up right now. It's the end of the third. Pittsburgh is tied with the Dodgers 2-2 in the top of the second. Lucky number 2's right there. Cincinnati beat Washington in extra innings 5-4. Oakland lost to Detroit 9-0. Got walloped in Detroit. Milwaukee beat Chicago 6-5. I guess they had a doubleheader because Toronto's playing again. Toronto and the Chicago White Sox. So Toronto won earlier 6-2. And of course, as you know, Philly beat Tampa. I'm going to say it again, swept Tampa in St. Pete's in that dingy, crusty. I feel bad for the Stingrays, man. I really do. It's funny. I want to say, if you notice this, watching the three broadcasts, They always came in from there. You ever notice that? Like when they would come in from different stadiums, they'll try to different area. It's always from the Stingray tank because there's
Yeah.
nothing else to show you. That's how bad it is at Tropicana Field.
Yep.
So that is where we're at. Matty B, any parting shots you want to take, give, or whatever?
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the Marlins series. So with the All-Star break, the 4 days off,
Yes.
and the potential that you could come out of the All-Star break in the lead in the wild card race in the National League. Does Rob Thompson play this series like a playoff series? Does he leave it all on the table? Does he throw it all out there against the Marlins? I mean, are we doubling down? Because we're going to get Wheeler, Nola, and Walker, I believe, in this series.
And I think you're gonna get Alcante, is it? Or
yeah, Alcantara's going to be going too.
Alcantara, yeah. So, and he's one of the best pitchers in baseball yet, except against the Phillies. Now, you can't go in there like that. You have to play well against him. But I think he's the one who's going to have the nerves, not so much. And the Phillies are the confident ones right now. He's the one who has to prove that he can beat the Phillies, which he hasn't. So that plays well in the favor of the Phillies. I think this team is playing that one game at a time mentality, but I would hope that Rob's looking at this as kind of a playoff series. Like we need to, even though all that good work we did in June really didn't pay much dividends because everybody else was kind of, keeping pace with us for the most part. So this is the chance that you get. Like I said, that National Series burns us a little bit. They should have won that one, if not swept it. I mean, talk about the proverbial blowing your load with a 19-4 game and then can't score another run in the first game, but whatever.
Yep.
But I think he should, and I just don't know if he would. He's just that's his mentality.
Yeah.
Well, there's plenty of baseball left to play, and I'm not going to burn guys out. But again, I don't know how you burn anybody out in this one. You're about to all take a break. I wish not one Philly goes to the All-Star game. I wish Nicky Bass would sit out, and they would. You know what? Garrett Stubbs, you want to go? Go ahead. You can be our representative. I want all those guys to go home, take a load off, spend a little time with their families, maybe hang out with their buddies, do whatever it is they have to do, and just go get their minds right now. Go take
what
a
about Rob
physical.
Thompson having to manage the All-Star team? I mean, you're
I'm
right.
I'm not worried about that. I'm not worried about Rob blowing his proverbial manager load. Everybody else needs to take a physical break. But yeah, it would just be nice if everybody can just scatter for those few days. Speaking of the All-Star break, there will be no Phightins final, of course, because there's no Phillies game, but we will have a special Phightins final All-Star mid-season review and kind of breaking things down and talking about trade deadlines, of course.
Yep.
So, stay tuned for that. We'll have that announced for this week coming up. It'll be on the graphic. I'll get it out as soon as possible. And it'll hopefully be all four of us here at the Phightins final. Myself, Matty B, Mike Laro, and Pat Bernard. And maybe we'll see if we can get somebody else in there as well. But other than that, that's it, guys. Another great game. They start off tomorrow against the Marlins. I'll tell you right now. I'm going to pull that up. I think it is a 7:05 start, correct? Let me pull this up. Yeah.
And I got the final tomorrow.
Matty B's on the final tomorrow. I believe Mike Saturday and Pat Sunday. Is that correct?
I think so. Yes.
You might see me, guys. I'll be involved somehow, which way or the other. But tomorrow is it's a 6:40 start. Yeah. Actually, and it's Wheeler versus Alcantara. So it should
right off the bat, man. Right off the bat. Woo!
Come out swinging. I mean, it's funny because Alcantara only has a 3-7 record.
Yeah, he's had a down year. He's had a down year this year.
But the Marlins are the kings of one-game victories. They have the most one-run victories. So, I mean, if that's not sustainable, hopefully this is the time that we really start to pull back on them.
It's gonna be a good series. I'm all in the favor of throwing it all out there and making a run at this. Send a message to the National League East. Send a message to the National League. We're back. Finish the weekend in that number one wild card spot. Let everybody get 4 days off. Reset next week. Come against the Padres, whatever. But let's do it. Let's put it all to bed right now. Let's end the first half, which has been largely not great. I mean, it's not been horrible, but it's been very frustrating, very up and down. Let's end this first half on a huge positive note. Treat this like a 3-game playoff series. Sweep the Marlins, and let's go in the All-Star break as that number one wild card heading into the second half.
Absolutely. And Saturday's a 4:10 start, and we'll see Suarez versus Garrett in that one.
Okay.
And then Sunday is Nola.
Yeah.
versus Luzardo. And quick question: Aaron Nola, hell of a game, pitched on the 4th of July, 12 strikeouts, best game by far this year for Aaron Nola. Is it? I mean, it's probably too early to say anything, but do you think Aaron Nola found his inner Aaron Nola and is going to be that number 2 star we know he can be?
Give me 3 or 4 games where he doesn't fourth inning it up. That's what I want to see. I want to see 3 or 4 starts where he can get through the 4th inning with no issues. Then yes, I'll be.
I mean, the fact that he was able to bat himself or pitch himself out of a couple jams, I think that to me was a huge telltale. It wasn't just like if he just zoomed through the game and nobody could get a hit on him and he was just not, if he was just this didn't have to worry about guys on base. I mean, not that he had a lot to worry about, but there was a couple times there was guys on base and he didn't falter. So that was very impressive to me in that sense.
Yeah.
If it was just like nobody could hit him, maybe it wouldn't be as impressive to me because he didn't have to deal with something that he's been, kind of faltering against. So we'll find out. It all starts tomorrow night. That'll be a game I'm sure me and you'll be watching, talking, texting, and messaging about. But other than that, guys, I want to thank Matty B for joining me when he wasn't supposed to tonight. He's probably like, dude, I'm not working me hard enough yet. And then I'm Big Al, and we will see you guys tomorrow night.